Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today, June 30th, 2020, for our today's webinar, Marketing in a Post-COVID World. Today's webinar is a production of the Virginia Small Business Development Center. With 27 centers across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses. The Virginia SBDC is headquartered at George Mason University and is a program that is a cooperative agreement between the U.S. Small Business Administration, premier institutions across Virginia, and our local governments. My name is Stephanie Keener, and I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia SBDC, which serves the city of Lynchburg, Amherst, Appomattox, Bedford, and Campbell counties. We are hosted at the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance. Today's webinar is the second in our series on marketing in a post-COVID world. Our facilitator, Christina Garnett, makes her home in Virginia's Roanoke Valley. As a marketing strategist and social media consultant, Christina strives to stay up to date with the ever-changing digital market landscape. She is currently certified by Google, Hootsuite, HubSpot, Wix, and YouTube. With her teaching and counseling experience, she works to empower small business owners to take charge of their marketing needs and use it to create and share their brand. With a marketing foundation based on inbound marketing, she showcases a deep love of audience understanding and data analysis. Please note that last week's webinar, Getting Customers Back, will be repeated on July 21. And you can see other webinars coming up with Christina at virginiasbdc.org or sbdclynchburgregion.org. You should also check out the Virginia SBDC's Recovery Resources page. We're working to add more training titles for the coming weeks, so stay tuned. And yes, we will be making the slides and a recording of today's webinar available. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those questions into the chat window. Tracy at our George Mason headquarters will help us facilitate those questions at the end of the session, and Christina will do her best to answer them. Christina, I'm going to turn it over to you, but I need to share my screen so folks can see your slides. So there we go. They should be up now, and just make sure to give me the sign when you need a new slide, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, everyone. Like she said, I'm Christina Garnett, and I'm going to answer any questions that you have, especially pertaining to how can we start marketing or just continue marketing in this new normal. If you'll go to the next slide.
Whoops.
So the main thing right now is we need to start with why. There is so much marketing, even in good times, where a lot of audiences feel like there's really a deluge. There's a lot of content. They're seeing billboards, they're seeing commercials, they're seeing pre-roll ads on YouTube. They're seeing ads all over their social feeds. They're hearing ads on radio. There's advertising and there's social content and email marketing. There's just basically being bombarded with content. And so in order to really facilitate a strong relationship building strategy, you really need to think about why you're doing all of it. So we really need to start with the why, because you need to come from a place of purpose. So when we're thinking about what are we going to write, what are we going to post, what are we going to publish, what are we going to advertise, it really needs to come from a purposeful place, more so now than ever, because as you're seeing now, if you spend any time on any social channel or just watching the news even, there's just so much content. And so when we do see something, we need it to feel impactful in some meaningful and positive way. We don't want to really kind of contribute to that noise. Next slide. So you need to ask that why, and here are the questions that I want you to start thinking about. So why are you talking to your audience? It needs to come from a place of, yes, you want your customers to know who you are and know what you offer and give you money. That's obvious, but there needs to be something deeper than that. Do you want them to build loyalty with your store or your business? Do you want them to refer people? What kind of relationship, and that's really the key to this, is what kind of relationship do you want with your audience, and how can you help build that? And then why should they care? There's so many posts that I see online, there's so many ads that I see online where it just really feels like someone told someone, hey, I need this ad up, go. Hey, I need this shared, go. And then when I see it, there's just, why? It doesn't make me feel something. It doesn't make me want to do anything. It's just something else that I have to swipe through or get past in order to see content I actually want to enjoy. You're wasting my time and you're wasting your consumer's time. So really, really thinking about when you're creating something, why should your audience care about what you're posting? Why should your audience care about your ads? What is it making them feel? What is it making them want to do? What is the reaction that they're having? And is that aligned with what you're wanting? And then why are they looking for your content? What makes you so special? Are you a thought leader? Are you an expert? Are you the only person in town that does what you do? What makes you different, and what makes it so that you have this competitive advantage where they're looking to you and they're looking to see what you're doing in order to figure that out? It could be that you've been a business that's been around for a really long time. And so they're looking to see, how is this business that's been around for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, how are they choosing to adapt? So really think about and ask those questions. Why are they looking for me? Why are they looking for my content? What are they looking for when it comes to looking for me? Are they using specific search words? Are they looking for a specific product or service? Is it location specific? Really think about why, and really try to dive into the headspace of your target audience. What are their needs right now? What are they looking for? Are you seeing a shift? Are you seeing significant shifts? For some people, it's just a little tiny thing. For others, they've completely changed how they are consuming, how they are purchasing, all of those things. Next slide. So Ann Handley, a massive, massive fan. I love Ann Handley to pieces. She does an email every Sunday that you can sign up for, that I'm absolutely in love with. She also wrote a book called Everybody Writes. Absolutely fantastic, highly recommend. But she wrote this, and it's lovely because it's a very easy quote, but it's, when you really think about it, it's very hard. You need to create ridiculously good content that is useful, enjoyable, and inspired. The thing is that when you're creating content, it needs to be the best content that you can put forward. And like she's discussing, it needs to fall into one of those three pieces. It needs to be useful, it needs to be enjoyable, and it needs to be inspired. It needs to come from a place of, I can tell that you created this because you're passionate about what you're doing, that you care about what you're writing about, or what you're talking or publishing or creating an ad about. It needs to feel that way. And if you didn't get to participate in last week's discussion, you'll know that there was very heavily a push on the idea of being a helper. And so there's a reason why useful is the first thing that she mentions. And when you're creating content, how is this helping? How is this helping your audience? Does it help them learn something? Does it empower them? What are you really providing and aiding them with when you're creating content? Next. So what are your objectives? We really want to focus on moving forward. A lot of people, when they get into marketing, I just want to know people know I exist. I'm opening my business. I need to know, people just need to know who I am. They need to know that I'm here. So we're looking at awareness. And then it usually drops down even further than that. And then, like, I want them to give me money. So we're looking at that top of the funnel, and we're looking at that bottom of the funnel. And so what I find, and I've found this with small businesses, nonprofits, all the way up to Fortune 500 companies, is there's such a heavy focus on, I want awareness and I want conversions. And there's not a lot of like real care given to that middle of the funnel. When they know who you are and they have money to spend, but they're still deciding. And that's the opportunity that you have to showcase why you're different, why you're better, and why you can take better care of them. So we want to think about, what are your main objectives? So if you're starting, let's say that you're revamping, or you're just looking and seeing what your current marketing strategies and work is right now, start with your objectives. what do you want? What do you want marketing to do for you? And don't be afraid to be too simple. So go in and say, like, I want more money. I want more people to come to my website. I want more people to call. I want more people to know who I am. I want more people to read my blogs. What do you want? Really create a list of what are your ideal objectives, and think about where they fall into that funnel system. Are they top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel? And then think about what steps you can take for each of those objectives, because I'll be honest with you, there's not like one beautiful piece of content that solves every single marketing problem you're going to have. By breaking down things by objective, you're really going to be able to do a deeper dive and think about, what do I need to do this? What do I need to do that goal? And when I'm creating content for social and writing blogs and things of that nature, that is my next question. Before I publish, I really need to think, what objective am I trying to reach by publishing this? What is the goal of this content? And I find that if a lot of people ask themselves before they post it on social, they wouldn't post nearly half as much as they do. If you really sat down and thought, all right, this content has to fall into one of these buckets. It has to answer one of these questions, or it has to align with one of these goals. And if it doesn't, then it's not serving me, and it's not serving my business, and it's not serving my consumers, my customers, my target audience. Then really think about, how would you feel about a business that when you saw their content, every single thing you saw was like, I get that. I understand why I'm seeing that. Versus, oh my gosh, why are they posting 30 times a day? Like, I don't need half of this stuff. It creates a very different thing. So we're very much quality over quantity as much as we can be. And then what are you doing organically versus paid for each of those funnels? It's really important to note that as you're going through the funnel, you're going to be paying more per action. So it's very cheap to get eyeballs, to get impressions. It's a lot harder and more expensive to get those conversions, that click-through rate. So when you're looking, if you're paying for clicks or you're paying for conversions, you're going to expect that that conversion is going to be more expensive than one impression, because that person had to go through multiple steps in that process in order to get that. They went through the full buyer journey to get that. So you're going to have to pay more for that. And then how are you aiding your audience through the buyer's journey? What are you doing to get the person who knows who you are to come to your store, to come to your restaurant, to go to your website and buy something? What are you doing to get them through that middle stage? And then what are your KPIs? What are your key performance indicators? What are the metrics that you look at to determine if you're being successful? For most businesses, it's sales and profit, but there are smaller metrics that you need to consider as well. One of the metrics that I'm definitely not a fan of are follower counts. If you are on social and your litmus test for success is how many followers you have, I'm going to tell you right now, that's really not a good way to go, because it doesn't necessarily mean that those people are going to convert. Also, they can be bought. You can purchase followers. That can be gamed. That system isn't, there's loopholes in that. There's also bots. There's also bots all over the place. So you really need to think about what metrics really showcase value to you. I wouldn't look at followers. I would look at engagement. How many people are actually commenting? How many people are sharing? How many people are taking a very decisive action on your content? And don't be afraid. Some of the best content is really simple. And what it's doing is it's asking people questions. The Steelers did a really beautiful post a couple days ago where it was just a very clean Steelers image with a little like comment bubble above the helmet and said, who's your favorite all-time Steelers player? And it blew up with engagement because everyone wanted to share their opinion. Everyone wanted to share who their favorite player was. Fantastic engagement. You're not really asking for much other than I want to create a dialogue. And that's what relationship building is. You don't want to go on a date with somebody and all they do is talk about themselves. You want to date somebody that asks you questions, that wants to learn more about you, that wants to get to know you. So if you're ever in a position where you are wondering, what can I do? What kind of content can I create in order to really foster those relationships with my audience? What kind of questions can you ask them to make them feel like they're being heard and that you want to get to know them better? You'd be surprised at the engagement that you can get. It's a really nice, easy way to tell your audience, hey, I just want to know more about you. I want to know what your thoughts are on this. And they feel heard, they feel seen. And so they're more likely to give you that. And at the end of the day, that's also why you can see more posts like that versus link clicks. If you're going to give me a link, that's the thing that kills me, is I've seen so many people create all this content around links and CTAs, call to actions, and they'll do this, and either, like, I need to know where that link's going to tell me, but you don't need to say, like, click here. You can say click here to learn more, click here to register or something, but I've seen some that just say, like, click here. That didn't tell me what I'm going to get, but it told me what to do with a link, which I already know what to do with a link. If I see a link on a post, I know you want me to click it. So that I'm good, but you need to tell me, like, why I should click it, where I'm going to go. What is it? Does it take me to Narnia? Does it take me to a registration page? Where does it take me? But don't just say click here. That's really not enough. You need to make sure that you're telling them why. It's all about the why. Next. And then going back to audience understanding, it really comes down to them. You could have a fantastic product, but if no one wants it or needs it, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It really comes down to what your audience wants. So think about, what does your audience need right now? And how do they search for it? What kind of words are they using in Google? Google autocomplete is your best friend, because it will show you how people are looking for things. It will show you what most people are searching for in terms of keywords and things of that nature. Really, really try to get into the headspace of your audience and think about, what are their current needs and what are their questions? What kind of questions do they have about the products and services that you have, or something that you would use the product or service for? Really kind of deep dive into what's their thought process when it comes to finding out that they have a problem, and then having to consider what their options are. And then, what do they think about you, your competitors, your industry? You could be losing business, not because of something that you're doing, but because of simply how they feel about your industry right now. I mean, if you're a mechanic and you have someone that doesn't want to come see you because they're so used to being, they feel like they always get price gouged whenever they go to a mechanic. That doesn't mean that you're like that, but that negative connotation to what you do could be hurting your business. Or, for instance, there could be a competitor that's doing something that's quite similar to what you do, and because of how they feel about that person, they've decided, you know what, I'm done with all of that. I don't want to have to deal with any of that. I'm good. I don't need that kind of product or service. It's not worth the hassle. So going back to what we had talked about in the previous week, think about social listening. Look at Talkwalker, look online, see what people are saying. And honestly, I would keep an eye on your competitors. I would see not necessarily what they're doing, but what people are saying about them, because that will definitely inform and give you a lot of audience insights to determine, what are people saying. So think about it. If you have a competitor and everyone talks about, like, the pricing, well, that gives you very clear indication of why they're winning. Or if you go and all the reviews are about the customer experience, look for trends, look for patterns. What are people saying that really kind of correlate to why they made that choice? It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be like, oh, well, they're cheap, so I need to be cheap, or they're this, so I need to be that. But you definitely need to be thinking about getting into the mindset of, why is this audience who needs my product or service choosing them over me, or not choosing them over me? What do they dislike? If you start seeing negative trends, that's definitely a way for you to highlight something. So If they go there because of the price, but the customer service is horrible, then that's definitely that's a place you can win. You can win with that customer experience. So really kind of highlighting, and then that gives you an opportunity to create campaigns and really foster testimonials that highlight, if you need a product or service and customer experience is important to you, then this is the place that you need to go. So really think about that. And like I said, what are their complaints? What is the good? What is the bad? Look for patterns, look for correlation, and see where there's an opportunity for you to be successful and for you to win one of those moments. Next. Time and money. You need to know your budget for both. Next. I say that because a lot of people think about marketing and they think about the money involved. They do not think about the time. They don't. And I understand that for small business owners and nonprofits, you have so much more that you need to be doing. You have plenty on your plate. And so you need to figure out, do I have the time to do this myself? Do I have money to hire someone to assist or even take it all over? But you really need to know what is your bandwidth and what is your budget for both. And that's why that quality over quantity is so priceless right now. You really need to have a quality over quantity mindset right now so that you're saving that time and you're saving money so that you can come from a place of, we really need to be strategic. Whenever there is an economic downturn, one of the first things that's always cut for most businesses is marketing, because marketing's great until money's tight, and then marketing becomes a luxury, something that you can think of so many other things that have to come first. It shouldn't be that way, but that's how it is. So really thinking about how you can be strategic and really look at what's working, what's not working, because you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and you're leveraging stuff that you know works. So next slide. So you need to advertise with purpose. Have you ever, and I'm sure everyone in this webinar can attest, but have you ever seen an ad? It could be a commercial, it could be a billboard, it could be an ad in Facebook or Twitter, whatever. But you've seen an ad and you're just sitting there thinking, this has nothing to do with me. I don't know why I'm seeing this. I don't have this problem. I don't have this need. I don't know why I'm seeing this. Well, especially if it's a targeted ad that you're using money online for and you're targeting a specific demographic, for people seeing that not only creates an opportunity for someone to see you and say, no, I'm definitely not participating in this. I'm not clicking, I'm not buying, I'm not doing anything. But more often than not, it creates an opportunity for them to think, this business doesn't understand me because you've targeted me to see something and I don't need this and I don't want this. And so if you think this is what I want and need, you don't understand me. So how could you take care of me? So you never, ever, ever want your audience to wonder why they are seeing your content. It needs to feel like when they see an ad, it needs to feel like, that's exactly what I was looking for. That makes total sense. That's why you're seeing more and more personalized data being used. So like for Netflix, if you have Netflix, if you're watching a movie and they have recommendations, well, they're basing those recommendations off of your history. And then for targeted ads, especially for things like Google and things like that, you're getting targeted based off of your search history and based off of like where you have cookies and if you have cookie data that they're using. So if you've been to a website before, this is why remarketing is so great. If I go and I look and I'm going to buy like a bag or a pair of shoes or whatever, and then a couple days, those shoes and bag are following me across the internet, I know as a marketer why I'm continuing to see that ad. But as a consumer, I'm like, well, you know, the Lord wants me to have that bag or shoes. I mean, it's meant to be. It's following me across the internet. But remarketing is such a fantastic tool right now, especially if you want to be strategic and you want to look at spending a lot less money. When you're remarketing, what you're doing is you're targeting people who've already, in some way, shape, or form, they've already touched your business. They've already been to your website. Maybe they've already purchased from you. But if you're thinking about, I know I need to do advertising, I know I need to be talking to people, but I just don't have a lot of money right now. Really look at retargeting and remarketing to the people who already have a relationship with you. You might be hitting someone who's been to your website before, so they have that awareness, but they haven't converted. So we're in that middle part of the funnel now. How can you talk to them and create an opportunity where you can do that? And email marketing is fantastic for that. How many of you are actually actively building your email list so that you can talk to the people who who respect you enough and trust you enough that they've provided that information to you? Really think about what you can provide for them. How can you communicate with them to let them know what you're doing because of COVID, what changes you're making, and just be very transparent and let them know how you're feeling. You'd be surprised what you're doing when you're actively talking to the people and building those relationships. If you don't already have an email list, I would highly recommend you start building that, because as social media shifts, and with advertising, let's say that you do a Facebook ad, unless that person specifically converts and puts their name in a thing and an order and everything else, you're not going to know all the people who are seeing your ad. But if you're sending an email to your email list, you're going to know who saw it. You're going to know who saw it, who opened it, who clicked on it. And so you're building your own marketing plan there. Versus if you're just posting on social and you're not doing anything to build that community elsewhere, you're building a house on someone else's land. If Facebook has to create regulations because of the current boycott, that's going to impact you. If Twitter is down or Instagram is down for the day because there's like an API shift, or it's just down, that's going to impact what you're doing. But that email, you'll still be able to have that email list. You'll still be able to have those relationships that you can talk to, that you can send information to. That's really helpful. A few years ago, they had they have a big fundraiser every year in Southwest Virginia for Roanoke Valley Gives Day, and Facebook and Instagram went down for basically 75% of the day. And Twitter was still up, and I'm on Twitter basically pinging everyone I know and be like, this is the time for email list, because you can't be pushing people on Facebook and Instagram. It's down. It's not an option anymore. So for the people who had email lists ready to go, they were primed. They were primed to take advantage of that, because they weren't building their house on rented land. So when we're looking at ads, we need to think about how are we talking to people. And also for email, you want to make sure that you're providing the strongest content possible. A lot of people see advertising as a loophole or as a quick win. If I just put $5 behind this, a lot of people see it, will be fine. But it has to still be good. So you want to amplify strong content. When you're emailing your customers or your consumers with your email list, you want to make sure that you're not just writing them to write to them. You have a very clear message. I'm writing to you because of this. I want to impart this. I want to tell you about what we're doing here. I want to educate you about this. Advertising the same way. You want to amplify the strong content. You want to amplify the stuff that's going to resonate with your audience. Because if you use advertising as a crutch, it's going to be very clear to your person, to whoever's seeing it. They just put $5, $10, $20. They just boosted this. This is a mess. Instead of actually saying, "Oh, I really like this. I needed this. I'm glad I saw this. This is exactly what I was looking for. Okay, cool. That's what I needed. I'll click this button. I'll do whatever they want me to do." You really need to make sure that you're being very clear, and that you're putting the strongest content forward. Next. So content marketing. So what kind of content are you creating to capture the attention of your audience? So we really need to think about, during COVID, one of the major shifts is that people are highly, 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 highly sensitive right now. So your content, in addition to being quality over quantity, in the back of your mind, you need to remember that people are in a very sensitive place. They are frustrated. They are sick of talking politics. Everyone wishes things were back to normal, and we still have a long road ahead of us. So people are sensitive. So when you're creating content, you really need to come from a place of positivity, and you need to come from a place of, like we talked about last week, you need to come from a place of a helper. So your content needs to show empathy. Empathy is a superpower. If your audience feels understood and you get me, you understand me, I'm going to trust you more. It's going to create rapport. I'm going to want to do business with you. You need to empower your consumers. Don't just say you're open. Don't just say that you're doing business. Empower them with choice. Let them know, hey, you can order online, you can order takeout, you can do this, you can do that. Let them know what their options are and empower them to make the choice for themselves based on how comfortable they are, based on what their current situation is, but really coming from a place of, we want to make this as easy as possible for you and be very transparent. Here are the steps that we're taking to clean our area. Here are masks required or not required. Here is what we are doing for the safety of ourselves, for the safety of our patrons, and this is how you can be a part of that. And then you need to build rapport and trust. This entire presentation, if nothing else, is that marketing needs, especially now, needs to build trust and relationships with your audience. They need to believe that you are there to keep them safe, that you want to create a good customer experience for them, and that you genuinely care about them. You genuinely want their business. They're not just money to you. You want them to feel safe in your business. You want them to feel taken care of. You want them to be happy. That's very key right now. Next. So what content resonates with your audience? Look back at the content from before and just tweak it, thinking about kind of what did my audience prefer before. So what content gets the most reach? Like content pillar, is it everyone likes it when we talk about blank? Everyone likes it when we talk about this. Going back to those content pillars or those buckets, what is this really trying to do? Am I talking about my product? Am I talking about customer experience? Am I talking thought leadership? What am I talking about that tends to get the most engagement or gets the most reaction, positive reaction from my audience? Does your audience like short or long? And then what channels? If Facebook is a great channel for you and Twitter is a great channel for you, but LinkedIn is bad, or vice versa, really think about what's working for you and what's really kind of making sure that you're able to talk to your audience in a really powerful way. It's really important to make sure that you're being strategic about where you're spending your time. TikTok isn't for everybody. Instagram isn't for everybody. Really think about, where is your audience? What are they resonating with? And think about how you could position yourself in that space. But it really needs to come from a place of, where is my audience? How do I want to talk to them? How do I want to build that relationship? And building that relationship on different channels and versus email versus billboards versus mails, like mailing cards, those are all very different. So the goal is the same. We want to build rapport. We want you to trust our business. We want you to understand that what we're doing and how we can help you. And we know that depending on what channel that's on, the age, the gender, the location of the person, that it's going to be a little bit different in how they want to converse and how they want to connect and communicate, but you're willing to make those steps. And then this is great. If you have a website and you're wondering what social media channels are best for you, go into Google Analytics and look at your sources. If you don't have Google Analytics set up on your website right now, do it today. Have someone do it today. I can talk to Stephanie. There's tutorials online that you can watch that'll help you walk through the process, but you need to have Google Analytics on your website because you need to know who is drawing you, who is getting people over to you, making sure that you see where people are coming from. So you can go into sources and you'll be able to look and see where people are coming from. Are they coming from direct, which means they're literally typing in your website name or domain, or they're going to Google, or are they coming from Facebook? Where are they coming from? And then the next thing is to look at the source, the pathway, to look at, you'll be able to actually go into Google Analytics and you'll be able to see the path of your customers and see what pages are they going to. Assuming they hit the home page first, what's the next page they're going to? And then are they leaving after that? Or are they going to another one? Are they leaving after that one? Or are they going to another one? And that will tell you so much about what your audience is doing when they're spending time on your website, and how they're learning about you and what's important to them. Really thinking about what that looks like. There's a really great tool called Crazy Egg, where it basically will tell you, it will help you walk through your website and show you what parts of the website most people are drawn to, where people are spending the majority of their time. There's also a site called Hotjar. Hotjar is a heat map. And what it will do is it will create like a heat map around your website, so you can see where most people on each page are spending their time. Are there specific buttons and CTAs? Is there like a side panel with a blog? Like, where are people actually spending the majority of time? Where are they attracted when they're spending time on your website? It's a fantastic way to get more insight. And then, do certain channels work better for different parts of the customer journey? You might find that billboards are great for awareness, but Facebook ads are great for getting people to convert. Really thinking about what people are doing and how people are learning about you. And honestly, if anyone ever comes into your business or store or contacts you in any way, shape, or form, if you should be doing this, but if you are not already doing this, please ask them, how did you hear about me? Just how did you know I existed? How did you find out about my business? Because that will tell you so much. And always never forget the power of word of mouth. Word of mouth is absolutely huge. It will never ever go out of style. The thing is that if you take care of your customers and you delight them, as HubSpot says, you delight them, then they're going to continue to talk about how great an experience they had. And they're going to bring more people to you. So marketing's great, advertising's great, word of mouth wins. Word of mouth always wins, because those are going to be, if I say something to a friend and say, hey, you've got to go so-and-so, they're fantastic, they do this, then that person's going to trust me at my word. And the next time they need that product or service, that's exactly where they're going to go, because they've had someone vouch for them. So making sure that you're taking care of your customers and making sure that they're able to do that. And now that word of mouth is online, now we're seeing the kudos online, we're seeing the reviews, we're seeing the testimonials, but we're also seeing the bad. So it's really interesting to think about. Really keep in mind the power of word of mouth. And then, do you have any content that can be updated or repurposed? Do you have any evergreen content? Do you have blogs on your website where you can share your ideas or share your thoughts or help educate and really kind of help your consumers? Really think about that. Next. So in a noisy world, be the voice that understands. At the end of the day, it's all about relationships. It's all about building trust and rapport. It's all about people feeling heard and understood. And I want to work with this person. I want this person. I'm gonna be a customer for this business because they get me. They get what I need. They get that I want, and they understand that. That's a very powerful feeling, especially in times of crisis, when you've lost a lot of hope or faith in a lot of businesses or organizations, when you want someone to not make you cynical. You want someone to be like, no, I totally understand. I've got you. That's a very powerful feeling. So think about how can you be that for your audience. Next. So focus on customer experience, especially online. This is a piece that I pulled off from Statista. And basically what it's talking about is it's talking about Germany, United Kingdom, and the United States. And it's how many people spent their time buying products or services online instead of offline. And so you're seeing this is the amount of people, depending on what they're, depending on different markets and verticals, what they're spending more of their time on. So you're able to see a little bit of shift. So like restaurant delivery and takeaway, hygiene products, clothing, household cleaning products, food and drink delivery from like the supermarket, health products, books, hobby supplies. So you're definitely seeing a shift in a lot of online behaviors. More and more people are buying online. So thinking about how you can make that easily accessible for your audience is definitely a key there. If you don't already have e-commerce options, Facebook has started a Facebook Shops option where you're going to be able to create almost like an online store through your Facebook business page. That's definitely an option. And they've had like Facebook Shops on some level for a few years now, but they're adding a lot more features of it. So it's almost trying to replace, not completely, but it's not gonna replace Shopify or WooCommerce, but it's definitely for the people who need a quick way to create e-commerce options for themselves. That's definitely what they're targeting. Next. And then keep an eye on trends and news. A lot of what we're seeing is going to shift. A lot of it isn't, though. The thing is that so far this hasn't been a 1 week or 2 week thing. This has been a month's thing, and that's long enough to set some habits for some people. So some of the buying habits that we're seeing now are going to stick with people. So really thinking about what that's going to look like. So like I said, e-commerce options. How are you making people more comfortable online? If you consider what buying options were like online like a decade ago, think about how comfortable you are buying something online now versus how comfortable you were on buying something online 10 years ago or 20 years ago. It's definitely a different feeling. So more and more people of all age groups are becoming more and more comfortable. And this has really shifted that into this is what you have to do to be safe. So those kind of trends are going to stay. But in general, look and see what people are wanting. So like contactless payments, for example, is something that's starting to grow a lot more. People are a lot more comfortable, which really shifts the need for cash money. What are things going to look like as more and more people decide, no, I just want to be able to put my card in a machine. I don't want to use cash. And we've been seeing that over the past decade anyway, but this is definitely heightening and really kind of quickly making that a need for a lot of people. So you'll see here for health, employment, and financial, how people are feeling stepping out in different situations. And so this is from Deloitte, Deloitte Insights. I highly recommend if you've never looked at Deloitte Insights before, huge recommend for that. They pull a lot of data about different verticals that you'll be able to see kind of what people are looking at and things like that. But you'll see in the United States, concern for physical well-being, concerns for health of my family, concerns over losing a job, concerns about making upcoming payments, or delaying large purchases. Depending on your business, looking at that last column is going to be huge. So you'll see there, it went up and now it's at 43%. So 43% are saying that they're worried and about delaying and thinking about delaying large purchases. So really keep an eye on insights, keep an eye on trends, and don't be afraid to ask your audience how they're feeling about things. What would make, and even ask them like, what can we do that would make things easier for you? If you have a store and you're wondering if e-commerce is an option, ask them. If we offered our products and services online, is that something that you would be interested in? Is that something you would use? Think about that. If you use Square for your payment system, Square has options to help you build websites. So there's options there as well. So really, really think about what is going on with the everyday changes in the news and COVID and things like that. But remember that some of these are just trends. Some of these are very much just trends, but a lot of the bigger ones are going to stay. They're going to stick with us. Next. So the goal for everything through this is that your audience can tell when you care. And when they can tell you care, they care back. They want to help you. They want to amplify your business. They want to shout it through the rooftops and tell every person they've met how amazing their customer experience was, how great you were, how well you took care of them. So you want to make sure that you're purpose-driven and customer-focused. Next. And that's it. Any questions?
Absolutely. Thank you, Christina. That was great. First thing I wanted to just mention, if you could send us the links to Stephanie about the Google Analytics,
Yeah.
you had some positives, and I will make sure that that goes out
Mm-hmm.
in the email that I sent out with the slides and the recording. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So thanks for the awesome information. You mentioned you may have a simple marketing ad objective such as wanting more money. How is that different from a purpose of wanting conversions, as I thought was also mentioned, was less caring? I may have been missing something.
No, you can want conversions. It's definitely less caring, but that's still an objective. As a business, you still need to make money. Um, so if that's an objective, there's nothing wrong with that. But if, for example, if you're creating content, let's say, because we all have businesses that we've seen do this, where you'll go on there, you'll see them in your feed, and literally everything is like, this is on sale, or you should buy this. And so everything is a push for convert, 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 convert. There's never anything else. So conversions can definitely be an objective. And honestly, like I said, as a business, you need to make money. You can't give it all away for free. Like that doesn't work, but there needs to be other objectives. So how are you creating those relationships so that when they are ready to convert, you're the person they trust. You're the person that they want to do business with. I hope that answers that question.
Okay. Regarding targeted ads,
Yes.
how do you avoid being seen as creepy and stalky of your customers? For example, and I relate to this, I don't know anyone under the age of 40 that hasn't complained about the pair of shoes that followed them across the internet. They don't see it as the Lord wanting them to have these shoes. They see it as invasive and annoying. How do we avoid that and still use targeted ads?
Yes. So for targeted ads, what I would do is really think about how you're targeting them. So usually that's an abandoned cart. So depending on what kind of software you're using, you can create targeted ads that do those shoes that are following you all over the internet. Or you can do something that has recommendations. So there is a software called Klaviyo. It's Klaviyo, I believe. And what they do is they send abandoned cart things, but they also send recommendations. So it may not be the same pair of shoes, but it might be a different pair of shoes or something like that. The thing too is that really think about, just like you would have objectives, think about what kind of people you want to retarget. So it's not just an abandoned cart, but it could be, I know this person has been to my website, or I know this person has clicked on something previously. Really thinking about how you can do that. There is a great tool in HubSpot Sales. This is for B2B. This is huge. If you don't already have something like this, HubSpot for sales, there's I think it's $50 a month, but it's there. One of the features for the baseline version is it will tell you if someone from a business is looking at your website, it will tell you someone from that business is looking at the website. So you can see like, hey, someone from Target is looking at my website, or someone from George Mason is looking at my website. And then if I have any contacts there, I can ping them, email them, like slip in a thing. But really thinking about anytime you can figure out, you're not going to be able to see like Susie at so-and-so is looking, but you'll be able to see like based on their IP who's looking. You'll be able to start thinking about how you can retarget them and make sure that you're like, hey, we should make sure that we're focusing efforts here. But it needs to, just like with the objectives, I would make a list of who are you trying to retarget. And also with your email list, you can also use email lists to create lookalike audiences on Facebook. So instead of saying, I want a 37-year-old woman that likes to shop, I'm able to actually use my email addresses, upload them into Facebook, and create lookalike audiences. So now they have multiple touch points.
Okay. How do you advertise to older populations, such as those who are assisted living and nursing facilities? I'm a Tai Chi instructor and really care about the physical well-being of our older population. Don't know if they have access or even know how to use social media.
Probably not. That is where I would say that strategic partnerships would actually pay more dividends than advertising. So if you have any connections there, if you are able to work with anyone that is able to, like the events coordinators there, having a relationship with an events coordinator and assisted living center is going to get you more access and be able to provide more opportunity to those people than say, something where you're having to put it on like online or anything like that. I would say that if you are wanting social, Facebook is usually the way to go, just because it tends to be the most universally used, and a lot of people use it to stay in touch with their grandchildren or great grandchildren. So if you're going to do social, I'd do Facebook. Face-to-face strategic partnerships, especially with event coordinators, is huge. And also let them know if you can put up flyers and things in there. I've been to assisted living centers and see flyers and things like that.
Okay. Do potential clients like it if you're a business that's giving a certain percentage of profits to a cause or nonprofit?
Most people do. The problem isn't if people care. The problem is when it comes across as virtue signaling. Probably the best way to describe it. It's one thing to give money, it's another to give money, and then you almost do like a PR campaign around giving that money. That feels very hollow. It feels like you're giving the money just so that you can get press for it and get positive sentiment for it. But also I feel like it needs to make sense. It needs to align with the mission that your business already has. I personally love it when businesses do that. I like it when they're very, like they can announce it, but it needs to feel more organic. So for instance, let's say that you're doing like a fundraiser and you're encouraging and you're donating all this money, and then you encourage others if they want to help, or providing ways to empower, like I talked about earlier, empowering your customers to do something. Let's say that you give a lot to environmental causes. Well, you could have a day off for your staff where you say that you're gonna volunteer and you're gonna clean up something, and then you invite your customers and say, hey, if this is something that we're doing as a business, this is really important to us. If you want to volunteer and join us, you're more than welcome to do so, because you're not asking them for money, you're asking them for time.
Can I follow up on that really quickly?
Sure.
I think that's a really interesting question in particular now, because we've seen a lot of businesses make statements in support of various causes and things like that, this month, over the past several weeks. And, one of the things that we consistently hear from audiences is, if you're going to talk the talk, you need to walk the walk. Yep. So, having employees volunteer, showing some other kind of action is, I think, really key if you are doing donations and other kinds of activity that way.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. It seems to me that phrases like now more than ever in these difficult times and we're here for you seem to be very overused in marketing today. It comes across as disingenuous. Do you agree or not?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
That's okay. It seems to me that phrases like now more than ever in these difficult times and we're not here for you seem to be very much overused in marketing
100%.
today and come across as disingenuous. Do you agree?
Completely agree. Completely agree. Amid crisis, now more than ever, we're in this together. 100%. 100%. That's why in your marketing, it should feel like you. It should sound like you. So if you were talking to your friend, if you were inviting all your friends over for a thing, you wouldn't say like, amid this pandemic, we should get together because we're all in this together. Like, that's not how you would talk. And the thing is about going back to relationships is that in order to create a relationship, that brand or business needs to be humanized. So I completely agree that those buzzwords are absurd and crazy, and they're definitely overused. And be prepared for more buzzwords. There was a tweet I saw a couple days ago where this guy was he received an email with someone saying they were calling themselves a COVIDpreneur. Like that is the right
Oh,
face,
no.
Stephanie. That is the right face. That is full cringe. So yeah, the buzzwords got to go. I would say whenever you're communicating with your audience, just like keep it simple and pure, and make it so that how would you talk to someone if it was like a coworker that you're friends with, but it still has to be professional? Like, how would you talk to that person? Like, make it feel human. Be human. That's honestly the most important thing you can do. But yeah, 100% agree.
Okay. So Christina, we've got a couple of questions here kind of regarding some of the sites that you mentioned while we were talking today. Do you think you could send me a list of, the data sources and this Crazy Egg and Hotjar? Several people have kind of wanted to follow up with that, and I will include those in the email that I send out to folks so that they can research those on their own afterwards.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I can do that.
Perfect. Are there resources that we can hire to help with Facebook or Google marketing?
Yes, I would look at Upwork. Does a really great job. Upwork's one of my favorite websites for finding freelancers who do basically anything. It's like Fiverr, but better, in my opinion. Upwork tends to be a bit more, you're seeing more professional work done. There's reviews. You'll be able to see people are able to be reviewed and scored based on their work, and you'll be able to see kind of what they've done. And there are certain certifications. So like if someone's doing Google Analytics, there's a Google Analytics certification. So I would make sure that whoever you're working with has that certification. They've gone through the classes, that they understand how that works. But yeah, I would look at Upwork, and you can also not only look for people, but you can post positions for what you're looking for and let them know a little bit more about what your budget is and kind of what the specific, almost like a job posting, what you're willing to spend and kind of exactly what you're wanting them to do. And then you'll have people apply for that. They'll share information about themselves. You can interview people, learn a little bit more about them. So no, you can absolutely hire that out, but I would start with Upwork.
And if there's somebody locally in your region who you think is doing a great job with their social media content management, ask them who is doing their content management, because it may not be somebody on their staff. It may be a professional content manager, and they may not be as expensive as you think they are. It's a good way to network in your area as well.
That's a really good suggestion. So the last question that we have is regarding website phrasing, regarding race relations and how you address that online.
You need to have a very clear understanding of what you are willing to say and what you are not willing to say. So what I would do is, there is a phrase that I love. It's called write without fear, edit without mercy. So write a draft of everything that you're actually thinking, what you want to say. Don't worry about phrasing. Don't worry about what it looks like, but like write from the heart what you're thinking, and then edit it to pieces and be very clear about what message you're willing to say, what message you're willing to not say. And remember that, like I said previously, people are highly, highly sensitive. So you're going to get yelled at for doing the wrong thing. You're going to get yelled at for doing the right thing.
I would also add on to that, have other people look at it before you put it on a website. Yes. Get other people's feedback. Just because you think it sounds fine, you never know. Written word, people interpret in so many different ways.
And a diversity of editors.
100%.
Okay. And we do have one more question that's come up, which I think a lot of people have, because I've heard it asked on most of these webinars that we've had, which is there a general guidance for how much one can spend on marketing? I know this can have a huge range based on business needs, but when someone says, what is your budget? I'm always stumped. 10% of revenue, something like that.
There really is no general guideline. And just as when you hire somebody, you'll see that there's no general guideline for payments. You could hire someone to do social, and someone will ask for $500 a month. Someone will ask for $3,000 a month. There's really, like, the gauge is all over the place. What I would look at is, specifically depending on your business, is I would first determine your cost per acquisition. What does one customer mean to you financially? How much are they bringing in? How are you able to get them in, and how much money does that look like to you? So you could have a lot of money to spend. You could be able to spend $500 a month on marketing and advertising, but if that is not in keeping with your CPA, your cost per acquisition, then that's a problem. If it costs you $30 to get a customer, but that customer is only worth $40 to you, that's not good ROI. So you really need to, I would always start with, what is your cost per acquisition? Really think about how much do your customers mean to you? How much financial value do they bring to the table? And then you can start working your way back to think about, is it 10% of profit? Is it 5% of profit? Things like that. But there is no magical number. Absolutely not.
Okay. Stephanie, you want to close us out?
Sure. Well, again, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Christina, for joining us today. Next week, week 3, same time, same channel. We have advertising in the new normal. So we'll specifically talk about some more of those advertising issues, making sure you don't get flagged for trying to make money off of, COVID, for being a COVIDpreneur, how to craft and copy, how to craft your copy, and what kind of imagery should you stay away from. So that's a really good follow-up to some of those questions that we're having. So if you haven't registered for week 3 yet, be sure you do that. Week 4 is use social media to tell your story in a post-COVID world. Another good follow-up. And then again, on July 21st, we are repeating, what is your message and how can you get customers back? I think that's going to be really interesting to do that again, for 3 weeks from now, right? Because our situation is changing so often with everything that's going on, that it's kind of nice to sort of like think again, how are you thinking about bringing customers back into the store? Those are questions that are going to keep popping up over and over again. Again, you can find us in the Lynchburg region at spdclynchburgregion.org or the Virginia SBDC at virginiaSBDC.org. Be sure and check out those recovery resources. The Virginia SBDC has done a great job putting a lot of resources together in one place for a lot of different industry types. So if you haven't gone to that website and looked around yet, please do it. You'll find useful information there. And I hope I see all of you next week. Remember to stay well and just, be kind out there, folks. Be good customers for other businesses. So we will see you next week.